What are strategies that people can look out for that the narcissist might be using to isolate, but in an effort to break your reality test?
Let's make it interesting. So I'll be the narcissist. I think what I want to do first is I want to fill your consciousness as much as possible.
Hmm.
So I want you to be as focused on me as possible, first and foremost. This is all part of the trauma bonding process. I'm going to make myself very significant to you. I'm going to give you emotional highs. I'm going to give you emotional lows. I'm going to give you emotional intensity. Your body and your brain will understand that as me being very important and very much an authority in your life. You only have so much attention. We all only have so much attention. The more I kind of flood the zone and swamp out your attention with drama, with attention, with these highs, with lows, if it's a romantic relationship, with sex, with whatever it is that sort of fascinates you and draws you in, the less time you have for other people. Once I've gotten you hooked into that state, which is very, very me focused, I just have to pour a little poison into your ear and be like, oh, so your mum doesn't really like you hanging around with me that much. That's interesting. It's interesting. Just at the point at which you are becoming the person you've always wanted to be. Isn't it interesting that she doesn't want you to? Well, you draw your own conclusion about that, mate. You know, sneaky, nasty little barbs like that. Anybody who has any negative feedback about the relationship or how you changed, so that people say to you, like, dude, you're really weird right now, or you look drawn, you look intense. All the negative feedback is just going to be reframed as, oh, they're jealous, or they're
Mm.
trying to stand between you and your destiny. They're trying to stand between you and your greatness. They're trying to stand between you and your best love, which is, of course, with me, the great guru, the great cult leader. So that would be a very rough sort of two-step process that
Mhm.
all budding narcissists can follow.
Mhm. Great.
Thanks for that.
So what you're talking about here, greatness, these incredible highs, you're on the cusp of being the best version that you could be. Um,
Mm,
seems to be talking about the shared fantasy.
yeah.
What is a shared fantasy?
Shared fantasy is a really interesting concept. There's I think he's a Dutch psychoanalyst called Sander, and I think he was writing out of a Belgian university in 1989. And I I read around some of his stuff and some of his published research. He was very, very interested in relationships and the way in which marriages and friendships and long-term relationships kind of play out systemically, and how almost as an engine with two people inside of it as a system that's running, how the relationship deals with negative feedback, how the relationship deals with victory, with defeat, with grief, with loss, and how people sort of recalibrate as we all have to. You know, these are the challenges of life. And he said he came to the conclusion that the glue that holds all of this together is a shared fantasy. Now, once that's been translated from Dutch or Flemish into English, like most of the translations from psychoanalytic theory, it sounds a little bit weird. So you think a shared fantasy, what is that? We don't have a shorter way of saying it in English, but the thing I would point everybody to is role playing games. So live action role play, where people dress up and they recreate the Civil War or the kicking out of the British from Boston, for example. And they're having a jolly good time doing that. It's a real buzz for them to relive that history, reconnect with their culture. That's the payoff, because there's a lot of effort. You know, they get the uniforms, and the uniforms are beautiful. They
Yeah.
get the weaponry. That they want to follow the procedure of exactly how the battle was fought on the day. And you, as an outsider to the shared fantasy, you'd think, God, what a bunch of nerds. Why? What's the point? But for them, it gives them a buzz. It gives them joy. It gives them happiness. So that's the fantasy payoff. Role playing games like Dungeons and Dragons, online games, Call of Duty. We're in a team of six, and we're all on our headphones and we're all screaming and swearing at each other and having a bit of a laugh. Again, this is all forms of shared fantasy. So the shared fantasy in and of itself is pH neutral. We all have sort of in transactional analysis from Eric Berne, he just called it a game. So we all play games. You're never not playing a game. You just kind of need to be conscious of the games that you're playing. So that's game, script, shared fantasy. It's the same thing. The problem with the narcissistic personality disordered individual is the shared fantasy game that they're pulling you into is not fair. And it's highly exploitative, and they're always winning, but you're always losing. So they have to take you, they have to take from you, and they have to break you in order to get their high. So unlike the guy who just wants to dress up like a civil war, I'm sorry, I conflated the Civil War with the War of Independence. The War of Independence, sorry. The nerds will be after me for conflating the two. They'll be like, that's not the same war. The War of Independence, and he wants his uniform perfect and all of this. He is, by simply playing with his friends equitably, he's getting what he wants. And he's like, that was a good day. Let's go eat pizza. Fantastic. I loved that. That's not satisfactory to the narcissist. And I think one of the things I would want people to understand is that there is no satiation for the true narcissistic personality disordered individual. You can't play their game by their rules and satiate them. That's not the point. The point of the game is you're always disappointing them. You're always failing. You're always losing. And for any human being who's stuck in that cycle of always being a loser, always being a failure, you can't do right for doing wrong. It's spirit breaking. Eventually there are things you could do to people that are hard and their spirits strengthen. This is not hard. This is just brutally unfair. And the point of the game is to break the spirit of the target.
Mm-hmm.